You know, I have to say, doesn't Choice Designs do an amazing job with the staging?
They do staging all of the rooms and spaces in a home.
Well, you guys, speaking of rooms, that's going to be our topic today. Now, they did a great job with this room, but here's my question. What would you call this room? We have so many terms for that word. What would you guys call it?
I would call it a living room. It's a place of entertainment, a place where you're always got the remote control real close.
No, Lonnie, the remote control and the TV goes in the family room.
Ooh.
That's where we're all comfortable. The living room, when I was growing up, had the plastic over all the furniture and you weren't allowed to sit on it until the company came over.
That's true.
You know what, now the family room, the living room, they kind of combined, and now we call it the great room. That's where the family congregates.
That's true.
You know, what about a leisure room? It's where everybody relaxes and just hangs out. I mean, they've been a lot less formal than they used to be.
That's a new term, especially now that we're doing those great big open kitchens with islands. That's a good term.
Very true.
Of course, if we look into some of the history, the older terms for this might be a drawing room, and that does not mean where my kids like to go draw. It would be an area that you would just kind of take people away to, a little bit more of a quiet space to go back to.
Yeah, a lot of people don't know that term's been around since 1600.
Yeah.
In other words, the 17th century. But if you do this, put the word with a drawing room or withdrawing chamber, and that's the way it called it. They just dropped the with, but they would always want to go to a private spot or a private place for another room, and that's why they call it the drawing room today.
Well, that room was also normally up by the front of the house, and they would also call that a reception room. So when people were coming in through the front door, that's where they'd greet them, that's where they'd offer them something to drink or a snack or something, and it was known as the reception room.
Yeah, and that reception room went through a couple different name changes. There was morning room, the chamber, and then in the middle class, they had a much smaller room for that reception room. So they started calling it the parlor. But the parlor, then the upper class was like, we really like that name, we want to have that into our houses. So they made it a much larger room that was off of that reception room that allowed people to go into and take that conversation in the next door.
I think another interesting term that evolved was when the gatherings would happen and the men and women would be in the same room, the men would want to go away and talk politics in a private area. So they would go and have their own separate room, and they started calling that the cabinet room. They'd shut the door, and that's where we got the room cabinet now.
Wow.
Well, I think this would be a great thing for us to be able to talk about today. We can explore some of these old terms, how some of them are still relevant today, and maybe we can start to forecast a little bit of some of the trends that are coming our way for rooms that we could use inside our homes today.
Yeah, there's a lot of new rooms. Let's go get our notes, come back here, and we're going to talk all about rooms today.
I want a room for
That was
spot.
good. I like that about that.
Can we get a room for spot?
Withdrawing is the perfect way to explain it.
Welcome to Between the Studs. We are Granite Ridge Builders, custom builders serving northern Indiana, northwest Ohio, and also parts of southern Michigan. We have been building custom homes for almost 2 decades, and we're really passionate about what we do. So join us today as we explore the processes, the trends, and also tips that characterize today's new home. Thanks for watching.
Hey, welcome back to this beautifully staged room by Choice Designs. Today's subject is going to be all about the word rooms.
Yeah, it's an interesting word. It actually means a defined space. We're talking about homes today, so we're talking about defined spaces at homes, usually defined by walls. 2 walls, 3 walls, 4 walls, and then there's a doorway or door as well.
One thing that I found fascinating is if you go back to 2200 BC, 4,200 years ago, they did some archaeological digs in the Minoan area, and they found defined rooms back 4,200 years ago for bathing, sleeping, and cooking.
That's a rich history.
That was the home. You know, we're talking 1 or 2 rooms, but boy, in the last 1,000 years, has things evolved? We're talking about a lot of new rooms. Today, a home of say 12 to 1,500 square feet, it could have 10 or even more rooms. We're talking about like 3 or 4 bedrooms. 2 baths, a kitchen, a foyer, there's a utility room, and then of course there is the garage.
Oh, most important one of those is the garage.
I love the history of the terms too, of course. One of my favorites is just the powder room. And I always thought that was when women would go powder their noses, and that's where I thought that came from. But the history goes way further back. It is actually when people had powdered wigs, and the men would go to powder their wigs in that room, Well, then that transitioned a little bit further. They put a stool in there that became like a half bath, restroom, or a washroom. And of course, today now we fancy it as a guest bathroom.
Oh, that sounds nicer. That is true.
I find it interesting from the name standpoint how we started with the keeping room, then transitioned to more of a gathering room. Now we're knowing things more as hearth rooms, and now probably leisure rooms is going to be coming on.
And for many years, homes had libraries, but that's evolved over the years. It went from a library to a den. Now we don't have either. We have tech nooks, just a small space to put your computer or your iPad.
Okay, before we get into the rooms, I thought this would be fun. We have had so many requests about one of the shows that we did where you guys talked a little bit about our personal lives. So I thought today, why don't we kind of go a little farther? Let's kind of talk some of our hobbies or some things that you guys really like, and then we'll get into that subject of rooms.
Well, you don't have to hang around me long to find out that I love music. It's been something that's been a part of my life forever. So one of the things that I like to do on the side is to DJ, wedding receptions, dances, events. At my house, of course, every Friday night, you can typically find a little dance party going on. It may have some Disney music included, but it's not all that's in there. So yeah, music has been a huge part of my life. And of course, Chicago sports too, so.
And you're good at it too, that's the other thing.
Yeah.
You know, my hobby is obviously, for me, swimming, skiing. I've grown up around a lake, but I still love the water. Anything to do with water, you can find me on it.
I like to travel. I like Europe, particularly Eastern Europe, and particularly I had an eye on the development of the church. And you talk about rooms. Some of those churches are incredible.
Yeah.
It's absolutely true. You know, so my hobbies have to be, depends on the season we're in. If we're in the winter time, my hobby is finding a chair and doing some Harry Potter cross stitch. So definitely like Harry Potter, and yes, cross stitching and some good music. But then in the summertime, I've been really inspired by going and seeing races recently, and so I've been doing things like 5Ks, 10Ks, half and full marathons, and hopefully here coming up.
I'm tired just hearing this right now.
I'll be accomplishing my first half triathlon.
They're young line. They can do that.
They could do it. Oh.
Well, I have a very active family and 2 active boys, so I'm at baseball and hockey. But when it comes to rooms in our home, our basement is really important because it's a blank slate. We've got the treadmill, we've got ping pong, all sorts of games, and we even put in a hockey room.
And that's probably where we get the word rec room.
No, I heard another room. It's called Rumpus Room. And that is absolutely her kids. The Rumpus Room.
Well, guys, you know, I like to read, I love to bake, but really it's outdoors. That's where I love to be. I love running, love being up on the lake, camping, hiking, just really anything outdoors. And that's why I'm excited for the outdoor living part of this.
That's going to be your subject.
I hear all of y'all talking about outdoors. I'm more of the indoor live music guy. I like going out and really getting into some really good live music, whether it be blues or rock or country or anything like that. And that's really a major part of my life.
Okay, stay tuned. We're going to start our first subject in just a second.
Welcome back. We're so excited to talk about rooms. We're talking about rooms in your home, what we're building today, what's popular, and really how these rooms and spaces are evolving. Now, the first one we're going to talk about is the sunroom. Oh, yeah. This is a very popular room that people are requesting in their home. It's usually located on the back of the house, a lot of times to maximize or take advantage of a view. Now, this room has really evolved because the sunroom is a part of your living area square footage. So this is a conditioned space. It's got heating, cooling, a living area in your home. Usually a lot of windows. Sometimes we'll have 2 or 3 sides of windows. And this room could be used for a lot of things. We call it the sunroom, but people do use it for other things just than sitting there.
And I've got one big tip. If you're thinking about doing one, a lot of times they have windows in there. And you might want to consider zoning your house so that would have a place to turn on and off that degree of heat that could be coming in that room.
Yeah, and the size of the windows can be a different thing too. Oftentimes, if you're in a lake community or you've got neighbors that are a little bit more close, you could still do that sunroom idea by doing transom windows though instead, so that you're not staring at the active side of someone else's house. Instead, you just got a lot of natural light coming in.
Yeah, that's true too.
And speaking of light, I would use that room oftentimes as a reading room because there are extra windows in the sunroom, and so I need light at my age. That's for sure.
Mine too, so I understand that.
Since Elizabeth said that these rooms are usually located on the back of the house, a lot of times they're off the nook. And so what we've seen people do is have a nice big cased opening going to that room, and people will extend their tables for large family gatherings and do the same flooring in both rooms so that it could be a little bit more of a flexible space like that.
And I've had some families who've made it multi-purpose because they've had the windows and everything to get the sunlight in during the day, but they've used blackout curtains and turned that in their media room or their movie room at night and block all that and get that extra space.
And that's one of the reasons why on our plans today at Granite Ridge Builders, we oftentimes put flex room on that room because people are using it for all kinds of things.
You tell us how we want to use it.
Yeah, and you talk about flex.
Oh, yeah, brother.
A lot of people are using it for exercise
It
rooms.
really is. In fact,
Oh.
we're doing a lot of that lately.
They're moving it out of the basement or out of the garage. They want to be just as comfortable in a nice conditioned space where they can
Another
do
thing
their
we're
workout.
doing is we're putting hot tubs in there. In other words, they're becoming spa rooms also. So I think the evolution of that room has really evolved, but I can see more and more and more ideas. Maybe you all have some too.
Well, welcome back. And I mentioned I love spending time outdoors, and I would say there's probably not been a change in our floor plans more so in the past 5 years than outdoor living. It's becoming a huge priority for people. We spend 90% of our times indoors, and I think people are recognizing that, and they want to bring space outdoors where they can feel comfortable. And we're seeing it not just in our homes, but around our area too. We got a rooftop down by the ballpark in Fort Wayne, and there's all these restaurants that are opening outdoor living spaces or outdoor eating spaces. And guys, there's lots of ways we can accomplish this. And I think you guys have a few examples of that.
Yeah, one of them would be like we call it a lanai, which is basically an outdoors living, lounging area on a home. And it's typically not enclosed.
No, and we're doing a lot where they're opening doors. Like for instance, we've perfected the 8-foot by 8-foot slider. It makes it feel like you are absolutely outdoors. And I love the word, you can eat al fresco.
Oh, that sounds fancy.
My favorite room that we've done all year are these covered decks. So I love the capturing the views, and we did a great composite deck with an amazing screen and porch all the way around it with a huge fireplace. And to really capture the view, a ton of cable railing has been done. And I have to tell you, this summer, speaking of outdoor living, my favorite spot has definitely been my deck. After all this training, you're not going to see me for a while. I sit on my zero gravity chair, and I'm out there for the rest of the day.
And talking about these spaces outside, I like what's underfoot. We're doing a lot of brick pavers, the stamped concrete. A lot of it looks like wood underneath your feet. And then, like you mentioned, the composite decks are very beautiful.
And then you go, what's over your head? Because we have the cathedral ceilings that we're doing now. We have a lot of the open beams. We have the big ceiling fans. They're really trying to make it optimize that outdoor living.
And here's some of the terms I'm hearing. For instance, we use the term veranda rather than the covered porches, but I'm hearing gazebos. We've done several of those. Pergolas, we've done a lot of those lately. And we're doing a lot of pavilions too.
If you want to take your outdoor living up the next level, a lot of people have been doing the outdoor kitchens and just anything to do with the living space. So putting TVs in the covered porches or having fireplaces and fire pits. So really bringing that out, that indoors out, and that is their new living space.
And those fire pits, you can do them with natural gas, things like that, so they don't smell as much like a campfire. Because I love a campfire, my wife does not. So I don't have any campfires, but once you get that gas burning log type thing, you can still have the warmth of the fire, still do s'mores, and have a great time outdoors.
The next space that we want to talk about, or the next room that we're going to be taking a look at, are kitchens. But going back to what we said at the beginning of the show, how do keeping rooms and kitchens, what do they have to do with each other? So I want to talk a little bit about the history on that. So keeping rooms in several hundred years ago when they were first around is something that was where the family wanted to gather, because that was the next hottest room in the house. Kitchens were the only stoves or fireplaces, so that's where all the heat came from. So what that ties into today's kitchens are all these open floor plans. So everybody wants their sofa right behind that island because you're right in the kitchen area. So that's really how kitchens have evolved now, and it's all open to each other, and I love that it started with that keeping room idea.
Yeah, I think that's why you're seeing the larger islands too, because everyone even gathers there. They want to sit there with the chef, be close, but you don't want to, again, be bothering them, but you're close enough
So
to
what's
be
the
there.
biggest island you've seen lately?
Probably 10 by 5 was the latest I saw.
huge.
So it's
You
they're
land an
absolutely
airplane
huge.
on that. That is.
And it's great because you have a lot of space to entertain at the island, plus you have your nook area or your dining area all connected.
Yeah.
So when you entertain, everyone is in that one space. You're not separated in another room.
So what are they doing with nooks then? Where is our nooks going?
Well, the nooks are becoming more of a built-in area. I mean, the nooks I've seen, some of them are attached to the islands on the opposite side, or an extension of that can be the nooks. Nooks can be more of a morning room, kind of that sitting, gathering area. Even the nooks are more becoming just the hearth rooms if you have a fireplace in those open areas too. So, the nooks are kind of going away, morphing into other things, and the kitchen is just this main, amazing gathering spot.
And one thing that I'm seeing that comes right along with that is we're talking about all these people in this space. Well, you have to have places to sit, and we're seeing more things come back. I'm kind of surprised, but we're getting built-in booths, built-in benches, places for people to sit and congregate.
The chairs there's no chairs.
Right.
They're out of the way.
Yeah.
Well, a lot of times they're actually building that table right off of the island now. So you have all the chairs that go down that way. So then the nook is the couch, sofa, kids working on their homework while everyone else is cooking and entertaining. You can still keep an eye on everyone.
But there is a concern. When we have so many people gathered in the spot, a lot of times you don't like to have your dishes out and all of your cooking supplies, so we do have a solution.
Yes, we do. We're talking about the butler's pantry, which is literally a large pantry where there may be a second oven, a microwave, a prep sink, a lot of electricity, places to make more food. If there's more food being made, I'm in.
Blenders, microwaves.
It's
It
great.
can be bigger than the kitchen now.
Pantries are just as important in this kitchen conversation. And I mean, think about the sizes of where the kitchens came from. Kitchens used to be a trough sink, and that is about what everybody had with a fireplace next to it. Then we went to galley kitchens, and now we have these massive kitchens with islands. And I mean, this is the main hub of the home. And so why don't you take a look at some of our favorites here.
One of the biggest rooms that we can have in a house anymore started off way back when. They called them root cellars. Then they were called basements. Then they were evolved into mechanical areas and storage areas. Now one of the largest spaces that you can do things is your lower level or rec room. We can see this room being used for billiards. We can see it being used for a hockey rink. We can see it being used for a cigar room or a hobby room or a movie theater room, or there's just so many different endless opportunities for that lower level.
And I'll tell you, one of the reasons why they are so popular today is because they're one of the least expensive areas under the roof.
Yeah. I think it's also become a space where it's entertainment focused. I mean, TV is a huge part of our lives, but for some people, they want that interpersonal space and kind of the conversation to be held upstairs. And then when you want entertainment, you can go downstairs and have these big theater rooms and places for entertainment.
Yeah, I think my term would be game rooms. Obviously, you have so many games that people can play. I mean, you've even got the foosball, you've got hockey, you've got even little basketball areas, pool tables.
Yeah.
So, billiards room. But I think the game room has become very popular, especially with kids.
You know, with the video games that they're doing now, they just had the big Fortnite World Championship, and the guy won $3 million. So all the kids are going to be saying, "Mom, Dad, I have to play the video game." So what better place to put them than the lower level?
And with this space and all of this entertainment we're talking about, it's a good place to have a bar or a secondary kitchen in your home. So when you're entertaining, you have a sink, you have a refrigerator, and those items to entertain with.
Hey, look how many walkout basements you think we probably do a year.
Oh, it's probably probably say 30 or to 50 a year that we do walkouts, and that really changes the dynamics of that basement because it lets a lot of natural light in.
So what if somebody wanted a bedroom in a basement? What would you do different on a basement to get a bedroom down there?
Yeah, so essentially we just have to have a window, an egress window, so we can do that through landscaping, or we put in some window wells. So it's very possible to have some additional living quarters down there with a basement, and we're seeing most of our basements have a full bath down in
Yeah,
it.
Izzy, I think you're recommending every one of your clients that that is the way to go.
It is. A little forethought can give you a lot of extra space to grow in, and just think it through and plan it ahead. When you want to find out where people are going to spend the most money in their house, oftentimes it's going to be in the master bedroom. Now again, it would start out as just, one bedroom that was a little bit larger than the others. Then it turned into a master bedroom because it was where your parents might sleep. Then it got extended to have a bathroom, so then you had a master suite. And now it's something so large that they would typically might even use the word owner's suite for the entire house. It's an own private wing, a spot that you can kind of retire to. And one of the things that I've seen a lot recently is people designating their master suite as the primary source of everything that they're planning for. The rest of the house is completely secondary. They're designing the closet and the bathroom as the first thing that they want to talk about when they design their home.
Well, how fortunate are we to be living in this area where we have the capacity to be able to do those kinds of rooms? Because I still watch shows on TV, and they're lucky if there's a closet in their bedrooms, and they're lucky if the bathroom is attached to it, because there's so many homes that still just have one. And I mean, those are high expensive homes, and I mean, look at what we can get in this area for that too. So having these master suites with large luxurious tubs and showers that are infinity showers that go into different areas with all that glass, I mean, we really have a wonderful setup here.
We do. In your master suite, it really should be a retreat. You spend so much time in there, and we're finding people are even adding a sitting room or a sitting area off of their master suite.
Or a kitchenette and a coffee bar.
Oh yeah, we built a couple
Or
of
the
those.
other thing that some people are adding to these is that infamous snoring room off of it, so that, if mom and dad, as Izzy said, go in the bedroom to go to sleep, dad snoring isn't keeping mom up.
Yes.
Well, I think sizes are really changing. In fact, a lot of our bathroom areas becoming spas, but they're also making those 10-foot by 20. I have seen some that are 20 feet by 20 feet, and they're doing a lot of relaxation in there, meditation areas that are in that same suite area. So the one big one I've seen is the closets have changed.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Two-story closets. They're deeper, they're bigger, they're wider. We do a really, really good job with our shelving. We've got a specialty company called Inspired that helps us out. The shelving has changed. 2 stories, trying to get rods that come down that you can use that for storage. So it has absolutely
And what about
evolved.
those packing stations that they're doing in those closets? It's almost like an island inside the closet area to do everything.
Yeah.
I love the vanity setups that have been in these master suite areas. When you have different things like the makeup counters, and you have these specialty mirrors, you have these linen cabinets on top of the countertops. All of these things really are so inviting and make the area special for you.
Now, I know it's been a hot topic in past episodes of Between the Studs, but the tile shower. Don't forget the tile shower.
Yeah.
That's
For sure.
probably one of the most important parts of this suite.
Absolutely.
One nice part about these also, they're doing a lot of the split bedroom concepts with these. So the master is actually on its own on one side of the house, and they're doing specialty doors like the barn doors to kind of separate them off to really make that area so special for the owners.
The last segment is going to be all about specialty rooms. And what I mean by that, for instance, a lot of people have heard of people working from their home offices. Did you know that 5% of the population right now is working from home totally? Well, we're doing those kind of rooms, and you have to take a special setup. Another one on a specialty room that I've been seeing lately is a wine grotto area, or a better one is a wine tasting room. So that's a couple specialties that I thought of. What do you guys see?
Well, it's no secret that I love jib doors and little secret spaces. So that's definitely one of the things that I see is a secret room or a hidden door that could lead to something like a safe room, where you might have like a panic room. You might use it as a gun safe room for just your valuables. And then the musician in me also loves the idea of a little recording studio, a little place that you could, have the soundproof and be able to do some actual
We
recording.
built several of those this year even.
Yeah.
Izzy, since you like those secret rooms, are you a Harry Potter fan like me? I mean, come on, that's right there.
I am a pocket hidden Harry Potter fan.
Izzy, you're talking about the recording studios with Sweetwater Sound here in town now, and all the new people that they're bringing in. There's a lot of new musicians that are coming to town, and we're getting a lot of requests to do specific music rooms for guitars and pianos and drum sets that they're coming in and talking to us, and then either their wives or husband are saying, can you please soundproof that for me so it's not resonating throughout the whole house. The other room that I'm seeing a little bit, not that much right now, but it's one near and dear to my heart, is the cigar room. So when it is January and February and you're not having to go outside when it's 10 degrees, you're putting in the extra ventilation in there, you're putting in extra circulation in there, you're doing special things to make sure that odor doesn't go out throughout the whole house.
Yeah, and so far we haven't talked about one member of the family, and that's our pets.
That's big.
Yeah, and people are coming in and they are designing rooms and design features around those pets. They really want to spoil them. We're seeing things like cat closets. We're seeing built-in, dog, food trays and water bowls, doggy showers out in the garage or even in the interior of the house where the shower specifically designed for their pet. We've designed some really neat houses around some aquariums. So, our animals, our pets are extremely important, and we're seeing that in our design these houses.
Are there people that like cats?
By the way, you can call Izzy Rodriguez. Yeah, let me tell you
What's that email address?
There's the children's retreat. This is a popular request too. A nice area for your kids specifically. And this area can change as they grow. So it may start out as a place for toys. So it's a nice place to hide those toys, but as they get older, it may be more of an entertainment room, or they may be into art or music, and they can have their own personal space there. Now, another thing is pocket places or pocket libraries, pocket offices. You maybe don't want a huge den because you're not going to use it that much, but you can have a pocket area, and we're seeing sometimes these are in a loft area. So the loft used to be a space we had but we didn't use, but you can really dress it up with some built-in bookshelves. Our houses are so open, so there's not a lot of places to display things, so that's a good place to do some built-ins, do your kids' art or the extra books you have put up there.
I know one place we've been doing lately is underneath a stairway. What do you do with that little space there? Or, even up in a loft, let's say it's 4 feet wide. You can still do it there too. So it doesn't have to be, like you said, real big.
Exactly. We could do a wine grotto underneath the stairs. We've done that.
We've done that several times.
I have 3 favorites. So one of mine is definitely the craft room. So we talked about the sewing, but it's not just that. I mean, sewing, cross-stitching, knitting, all of these arts are really coming back, and people want a space to be able to do that. And in a similar fashion, homeschooling room. So there's a lot of, homeschooling is a very big trend right now, or even just the studies or just education rooms for kids to go home and do their homework in. So those are really popular rooms, but we love building at the lakes, and one of the rooms that we see a lot are bunk rooms. So you're going to go usually to an upper level, and you're going to see at least 4 or 6 or even 8 bunk beds in a nice huge bonus room on these lakes to just get all the families and kids in these gathering spaces. So those are really fun rooms to be able to design.
And also over the last, I would say 8 or 10 years, we've had a lot of requests for mother-in-law or father-in-law suites. And that could consist of a bedroom and a bath, a small kitchen, a living room that's attached to the house where some member of the family or friend is going to live. Also, recently, I've had requests for prayer or what we call meditation rooms, oriented at a certain location in the home. There are certain religions, particularly, that really want to focus on that room.
And they don't have to be real big either, do they?
No, it can be very small to actual room.
Now, your multi-generational room might be big because we have designed a lot of those lately too. I hope you found this interesting. I think we got to get the show closed, guys.
All right. Thank you so much for spending part of your day with us. If you'd like to learn a little bit more about who we are, what we do and why we do what we do so well, please pick up the phone and give us a call, visit our website, or even better yet, come into our showroom. We'd love to talk to you about all these specialty rooms that we can design in your next dream home.
Choice Design said we got to get out of here. By the way, we got to clean up. What room is this again? Would you say it was
Clean up?
living room?
I got an appointment I got to go to.
A lot of times you don't like to have your dishes out and all of your cooking supplies, so we do have a solution.
We do?
Right, Lonnie? Great.
Right, Lonnie? We have a solution for
Boy,
you.
she just set that up for you.
did.
And he's over here
Okay,
sleeping.
that's my favorite.